Welcome back to The Watch, and I've received some good news.
Good news?
The destruction of Hollywood, its implosion, is nigh inevitable because they did it to themselves.
Nice.
I mean, they get what they deserve. So this actually is coming from a more economic analysis of the results of the recent strikes. And so this is from Warren Smith. Now, Warren Smith, he ended up going viral not too long ago. You might have missed it. It was mostly on Twitter, where he is a teacher, and I think at university level. And one of his students, he was talking with some of his students, and he records his lessons kind of the same way that Jordan Peterson used to, and posts lectures and stuff online about it. And this was, recorded with the consent of the student in this regard. And the student basically said that J.K. Rowling was a homophobe. Yes. And he is like, okay, let's break that down a bit. And then all he does is ask questions.
Yep.
Simple, basic questions using the Socratic method.
Yep.
Leading the student to question their own beliefs and guiding them to come to a realization themselves that J.K. Rowling is not a homophobe or transphobe or whatever it was at all. Went mega viral as to how brainwashed so many people are in society and how depressing it is that so many people just don't ask questions.
Oh man, I did the same thing with my missus, and then a couple of weeks ago, she came back to me with like, "Oh, that thing, by the way, that people think you're insane about. I asked my doctor, and you're right." And I'm like, "Hey!" But yeah,
that's really dangerous. You thinking you're not insane, so
I know I'm insane. What's insane is thinking you're not insane in an insane world. That's insane.
Or just thinking also is not insane.
Yes.
So his response and handling of it was actually really, and he was getting attacked heaps and everything. And so this is coming from him. And he breaks down some of the economics of the new Hollywood contracts. Because so bit of background, the Hollywood writers' strike happened recently. You probably heard about it, where a lot of productions went on hold and the world instantly became a better place for a short period of time. Do you remember that glorious time? It was so beautiful when there was no late night, talk show idiots spouting off about politics, being insanely partisan, and making the most cringe-worthy vaccination dances and crap like that.
We will have that time again.
Someday. But I look back at that time as throughout this clown world, we're enduring a brief respite of peace. And I miss it, Oz. I miss it.
I miss it too.
Hollywood strike was a beautiful thing. The writer's strike was a beautiful thing.
Bring it again, please.
Yes. So many bad shows were either put on hold or cancelled. And they're going to get cancelled anyway. I mean, it was a smokescreen that the actual companies were using to try and clean house a bit because they had overcommitted with many contracts and green lighting projects that they're able to cancel now.
That's the problem. Everyone expects that a time of plenty will last forever, but winter is coming and the dead come with it.
The weird thing about these contracts though, right, is some of their demands were just insane. And it made me think the people who are actually trying to go on strike during this, writer strike, right? They're not rational people. What they're demanding is bonkers. It's actually a time when the industry itself is contracting already. Before the strike happened, the money was drying up massively, and they were straining, and they were having massive flops and everything. And they thought, this is a great time to have, leverage. They thought to get what we want and go on strike, right? They literally demanded to have a certain payment based on view count on streaming services.
It could just be the big ask. The big ask?
So, yeah. It was still insane though.
Yeah.
Bonkers. But even then, the things that they have ended up demanding and got are insane.
What they get.
So Warren actually describes some of this. He talks about that there is now a minimum requirement of writers for each production.
What?
I think it's 5, and 2 or 3 of them need to be producers on the show.
There are a minimum amount of cooks in the kitchen now.
Yes. Because that always worked, didn't it?
Then we had an analogy for when it doesn't work.
I know, if only there was a warning about it.
That should really help with the deflation.
I know, it'll really help. So, not only is it one of the worst ways to try and
Create something.
it's a reflection that they think this is essential for them to be able to create their work, which means they are so incompetent that none of these writers think that they can write something of value themselves. They need 5 other people to just get something done.
Hey guys, how do you spell the?
Yeah, probably like that.
There's an E in there somewhere.
And then a certain number of them have to be co-producers, which means not just writing, they have to be on set during filming. So the cost for writing on these productions due to these contracts has just gone nuts, and unfeasibly so, and unnecessarily so. So back in the day, all you need is like talent to write hand in a single script. Good, done, problem solved.
There you go.
But they're trying to say, no, they have to be co-producers and get paid a lot more, because if you go to have a producing credit on a thing, like... Rings of Power had a crazy number of producer credits. It was bonkers. And I remember going through it as like, it was either Rings of Power or Wheel Time or something, but one of these, new productions, bonkers amounts of co-producers. And I'm thinking, this is insane. Like, what are all these people doing? And it felt like it was just a money laundering cash grab thing at the time. This also might explain some of it. But it's people not only trying to validate their position, but also get more money. Like, they're not needed on set, but they're trying to say, this is their logic. Okay, go.
I was going to say, at this point, they're not even producers, they're reducers. They reduce the quality, they take all the money.
Yep. They're trying to say they need to be on set to rewrite certain lines when problems come up during filming. Now, the more preparation and the more solid the script is, the least that is going to happen. The fact that it is such an issue that they are insistent that their writing was such dog crap that it's going to need to be rewritten during filming is an admission of how crap, their quality is. Look, I'll give them a bone. Maybe it's also like so many changes from, studio meddling. We need this product in there because there's so many changes after the fact happening in the way Marvel was producing and everything like that.
Yeah.
That maybe they needed a writer and the directors and people filming just, but now it's mandated. They have to be there even when they're not needed. And so the costs are nuts going through, right?
It's just comic gobbledygook, man.
It really is. And so let's listen to some of the things that Warren said.
Today we're going to talk about why Hollywood is going to implode according to the logic and the numbers, because numbers do not lie. So looking at this from an economics perspective, it is going to happen. It's not sustainable. So I'm going to write a show based on the new agreement from the writer's strike. The agreement's in place. If I'm going to write the show myself, I don't have to then bring in the mandated amount. If I were to bring you in, it's not just me now. So now we have to adhere to this. So now we have to bring in a minimum of 5 writers.
So it's also based on number of episodes. Holy crap. And so 13 plus episodes, minimum number of writers writing room is 6. And out of that 6, 3 of them need to be writer producers. The cost is insane. Like the minimum wages now for writers, bonkers. It's more than what it ever was before. Okay. And so the ultimate result of what's happening here is that Hollywood is hiring less writers, and there are far, far, far fewer jobs for the writers who are striking to try and ensure their employment. Now, not even getting the... And Warren points out, rightly so, that what the strikes ended up doing was ensuring the job positions for the people at the top.
It's more secure.
And all the other people are basically stuffed.
You know what? I'm gonna just solidify that in my worldview. That any sort of mass group movement, any sort of enshrining in law of basically anything is just to secure the people at the top.
Secure the power of the people in power.
Yeah.
Seems like that, doesn't it? Or to take away power from people that they don't want to give power to themselves.
Yeah.
Seems like that. And it often screws over the regular guy.
Pretty much everyone but them.
All of that, but this is really the heart of it, the numbers. This is not opinion. These are the laws of economics. The 5 rules of economics is going to show throughout the course of this video why Hollywood is imploding television, episodic, and feature films. Yes, it's woke messaging, political messaging, the debate around feminism, Barbie, all of that. But this is really the heart of it, the numbers.
The thing is, though, the problem that's caused the issue with these numbers is the same root cause that's causing the problem with the woke messaging and everything like that. It's the whole, we need to be diverse, we need equal representation, we need to redistribute the resources and all that stuff. And so the woke messaging about diversity, about feminism, that's there. And this is all the redistribution to ensure the money and all that stuff. It's, I hate unions as well, by the way, on a side.
See, this is why capitalism is great, because capitalism relies on not exactly the worst, but like just the base state of man of we want to be we are self-interested, right? And that self-interest means that everything flows correctly, you know? Everything flows naturally and responds naturally, and it just results in the best system possible.
If in a free market, and this is the thing, because I think selfishness is negative and bad, we should try and be selfish and help other people out. But for an actual economic system, it is the most viable and least worst system because it really works. Because the thing is, if people are being self-interested in their exchange and stuff like that, for you to succeed in a market then, you then need to give a good product and actually end up treating other people well because they're interested in their welfare.
Yes.
And if you do not appease their interest in their welfare, they won't engage in trade with you and you're screwed. And that's why in a true free market, when people abuse the system, they go under. Unfortunately, that isn't the case because we don't have a perfect free market, and there are gross, abusers in the large-scale corporations and stuff, where they get propped up through many, things outside the market. Where, again, so many times there's been attempted, competitions being launched against before Twitter was purchased, right? There was actual what looked to me illegal collusion to absolutely crush Parler. Like Parler's servers were denied completely, absolutely nuking, basically destroying its potential to being a viable competitor. It's just one example of anti-capitalist actions destroying free market natural correction that would have occurred. Because Parler was freaking exploding when it was actually, not suppressed, but then it was banned off its servers, destroyed every bit of momentum it had, never recovered as a result.
What happens when we drive up the cost? That means less jobs. The only way unions can do this, Milton Friedman said this as well, the only way that this can be achieved is to decrease the number of jobs. That's not their incentive. Their incentive is to get the agreement, to get these numbers as high as possible. But the result is that there's actually fewer jobs.
So I hate unions. I think they're helping their, members out to drive the wages up as high as possible, and it just results in fewer jobs, screwing more people over, and giving the people in the higher things money. And you can see why that's another reason.
You know what we should collectivize and protest for next? Just have the streets made out of chocolate. So that way, if we get hungry, we can just eat the streets. Problem solved. I mean, it'll work, right?
That would be retarded.
Yeah.
Less chances are going to be taken, and it causes a full-out depression. Result is that there's actually fewer jobs. It inflates the cost of production, less chances are going to be taken, and it causes a full-out depression.
Less chances are going to be taken, okay? And that's been one of the death knells that's been happening in Hollywood, is that they just trying to remake crap, either sequels or reboots, tired, and there's no innovation to push it forward to really capture people's, interest.
Yeah.
And so that's also going to be the result.
Well, look, they can do member berries as long as they do it well. If they're
They
that
haven't
desperate.
been.
They haven't been. No.
And the very model that they're now locked into, 5, cooks in the kitchen, 6 cooks in the kitchen, stuff like that, it is barely ever going to result in something genuinely good.
Like the 5 basic economic principles: scarcity, supply and demand, marginal cost, marginal benefits, and incentives. Well, incentives, we're just removing that because there's no natural incentive here. It's being mandated. So let's throw that out the window. Scarcity. Well, this is actually the opposite of scarcity. We have too much.
Too many riders for the jobs that are now available. They did it to themselves because now the costs are so much high. Production's been reeling back. So,
do you know about the 80-20 rule?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that highlights a greater rule of my dollar has to be filtered through however many people or however many systems. If I spend $1 to buy something, that dollar is filtered through the labor cost to create it, the resource cost that it costs the business to buy the thing, to make the thing, to build it, and then it goes all the way down, then you get profits. If you put more people and more things into that filter system, my dollar can only go so far, and I have to give you more dollar to get the thing and for you to get the profit. Because at the end of the day, if the person can't make the profit, they're not going to make anything. People basically won't do anything without profit or some sort of gain. And so to do this, like, there could be no other outcome.
The natural result is massive contraction, and these, protests. No, it wasn't protests. The strikes, the writers' strikes, causing it in a big way.
I cannot believe that people are this stupid. I have to believe, to remain sane in an unsane world, that this is somehow being done on purpose. Somehow.
Well, remember, it's the people at the top. It helps them out. It's ensured their positions to get paid more, and they're not losing their jobs, and so it's serving them. And of course, the heads of the unions, they're getting paid big stacks.
Yep. But Shad, that would imply a conspiracy.
No, just collusion.
Yeah.
Supply and demand. We talked about that, where you increase the cost of the product. It's going to make less opportunities for those jobs, like increasing the cost of hiring the writers. Marginal costs, right? And marginal benefits. Every time you create a unit, how much does that unit cost? It'd be marginal costs. Well, that's driving up. So to hire that writer, like you were saying, it's not allowing marginal costs to naturally occur.
Again, this is like the anti-free market trying to forcefully engineer the market to someone's whim by now saying you must pay this amount for this service without the market actually dictating this is how much money we have available to spend for that service. So I can pay. This is what is valued to us then, right? By forcing it, it's going to ruin it.
It's going to destroy it.
Yeah.
Because the nature doesn't respond to unnatural processes well.
Interesting result of command economies. Is that what they're called?
Yes. Yeah, look at Venezuela, Russia in the 1950s and 60s, 70s and 80s.
And, well, I know this isn't complete command economy, but forcefully injecting unmoving kind of things into a free market has aspects of that which just ruin its ability to operate naturally, which ends up destroying the market.
And marginal benefits. So now we have to bring those 3 writer producers, even though we might not need them. We might not need 6 writers if we're going above that other number.
6 writers. And me as a writer, I almost find that offensive because I think I could write collaborative with one other person that was really good and we're connecting and working with, right? 6. Oh, that would just be so unbearable.
Yeah, but you got to share a singular vision. Because if you've got 2 contradicting visions, then the thing's going to be a jumbled mess.
Most of these shows are a jumbled mess. We've recently reviewed Fallout, and so many things later in the show actively contradict the setups and the payoffs. Not only aren't satisfactory, literally contradict what they were seeing before. And it's like, are they even paying attention to what's being... And it might make sense if someone wrote the first thing and someone wrote the end without knowing, fully in detail.
Every single one of the 5 core economic principles are just being thrown out the window. So if you don't... How could this possibly be sustainable? And this is not even factoring in the lazy storytelling, reverting to pre-established IP, sequels, more superhero movies because they know they can bank on that because now...
Not anymore.
No more.
The superhero films are dying.
Woke stuff.
Yeah. If they made something good, it would be successful still. I still believe that.
Cost is so high, they can't make artistic gambles. So therefore they have to bank on remakes that they already... So now what's the result of that?
You don't find success chasing bandwagons. You don't find success chasing trends. You find success setting trends. Every law in art says this,
It's hard for me to find an example of something trying to copy something else and being more successful than the first. Like Twilight, there was so many teen, vampire shows trying to capitalize on that after the fact. Not a single one as successful as that. When Conan the Barbarian came out, so many other edgy, fantasy, like sword and sorcery slot came out. Not a single one as good as Conan.
Game of Thrones, fantasy has been trying to do that for the past however many years. But that's my point, right? Like Twilight, Conan, they all set the trend. Helldivers came out recently. That took things that it liked from a ton of other stuff, put it into one thing, and everyone loves it now. Now that is the trend.
It's a new trend. But you can look at so many examples. Lord of the Rings, the Jackson trilogy when it came out. So many people try to copy that, capture that magic. Can't do it like the first.
Halo. Halo was like, for years, every FPS game that came out after Halo was called, is this going to be the next Halo killer? And then Halo kills itself, which is ironic. By following trends of sprint and aim down sights.
Maybe it might be one or two examples. I can't think of them right now off the top of my head of something trying to copy something else and doing a better job. That's as explicitly chasing a trend that something else set. Maybe there is examples, but not generally.
Well, we saw it at the Oscars this year. It was really one movie sweeping everything. Those who are already getting paid allows them to make more. So the people that top 20% were already the top 20% that were making the most in the entire union.
Right. Yeah.
So what everyone on that picket line did inevitably is they allowed those that were already getting paid the most within that bracket to make more, and everyone that was getting paid less is now making less.
And just lost their jobs completely. That's what they achieved on those picket lines. Well done, union support. That really helped the average, low-end rider out, didn't it?
And they were out there picketing for this without even realizing. Okay, Hollywood Reporter, I'm scared. Why it's a brutal time to be a TV writer. Within that article, I want to get your thought on this. This is a quote. As a showrunner who is a queer woman of color and I can't get work, that's saying a lot.
That is such a mask off, man. That is such a mask off. Gosh.
You rely on your identity.
Exactly. I, who rely on my identity to get work, and these companies explicitly hire based on identity, I can't even get work. What does that say? It says a lot. And I think a lot of the writers are like this. They're not relying on their talent to get hired. They are explicit. They admit they're relying on their identity to get hired.
Well, that's all they got. They don't have the talent.
Now they have to hire like 3 or 5. And you might think, more jobs. No, now there's just vastly less productions because the cost is inflated so much. And so there's less writers. And even the people that are being hired like that, it's based on identity. And then we just end up getting slop. The writing quality is crap. And I wonder why. That's right. He admits it, man. But Oz, this isn't happening.
It's not, no.
It's not happening, The woke ideology is not infested in Hollywood.
It's due to internet racists.
Yeah.
Yep. And white men.
My sexual identity and my race usually make it easier to get a job. Logically, that's built into that statement.
But they're not hiring based on race and color, Oz.
No.
Because that would be illegal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe you just weren't black or gay enough. There's someone who's blacker and gayer than you.
Oh, if they were black, gay, trans.
Ah.
And
Had a gimp foot.
Oh, and disabled.
Yep.
You can't beat that.
Yep. You know what? Like, oh man. I was gonna say, like, where's the illiterate writers? Where's the illiterate writers? We need representation for them.
Exactly.
Illiterate writers.
Gay, trans, illiterate.
Dead, actually. Dead.
Neurodivergent or disabled.
Yep. Cessation of life.
Life challenged.
Their soul has already moved on to hell. And that's where Has Been Hotel's written from.
Oh.
Written straight from the source.
Is that this was all self-imposed. Is that I don't even think... I mean, let's take a look at this clip from Chris Gore. Or not Chris Gore, sorry. Sorry, Chris. Bob Iger.
So Iger just basically says, no, there's a worse time to, do this protest. We don't have the money to give them, and they're misguided.
This is not meant to be discouraging. If you talk about distribution and the unions, it just seems impossible, and it is. It's not meant to be discouraging. It's meant to be liberating.
What's the alternative?
Just go do it. Don't wait for permission. We make sense of the world through stories. So when you're on that picket line, you're participating in a story that you think is justified, and that story then blinds you to the reality. Unless someone can come along and provide you a better story that's actually grounded in truth. If you make a good enough movie, if it's a really good movie, they will come. People are going to want it.
And we've seen that with the really good movies, you know?
If you build it, they will come. Oh, man, you hate that movie.
I don't like that movie. But the message, there's some merit into the sense that if you make something good, actually good, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen recently.
Yeah.
Godzilla -1. People loved it.
Yep.
Really, really good.
True Detective Season 1, still 10 years later, people love it. I love it.
Shogun.
Yep. I started watching it. I got to go back and watch from the beginning now.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
House of the Dragon. Top Gun Maverick. Did great. Like when it's something truly exceptional. So the Hollywood implosion is all but inevitable due to what they've done to themselves. Now, will Hollywood die? We could only hope. I don't think so. Films always get made, but in terms of the large studios, Disney has so much capital and resources, even if it has to sell off stuff, it'll exist in some form. But it's going to massively contract because they're not changing. You know, this is the result, and they're just going to double, triple, quadruple down, keep making crap, keep failing as a result, and we will keep watching as it happens. Stay on watch.